At the center of Maple Street, there was a boy by the name of Rohan, and if you lived anywhere within a radius of him, you would have been well aware of his non-stop mischief. Rohan was no ordinary boy, oh no, not the sort of boy to transform a peaceful, sunny afternoon into pure mayhem with one thought. His messy black hair, mischievous smile, and twinkling eyes made him look innocent on the surface, yet every neighbor knew better. Rohan's days began every morning with a plan. He would sit on the porch with a notebook, although no one had any idea what he was putting down in it, and observe the street. To passers-by, he seemed to be simply watching birds or tallying cars, but actually, he was scheming his next prank. Mrs. Sharma, next-door neighbor, still recalled the day Rohan had wrapped a plastic snake around her doorknob. She had shrieked so loudly that Mr. Khan, who lives on the other side of the road, ran over believing a robbery had taken place. When they discovered Rohan hiding behind a bush, giggling so hard he could hardly breathe, they knew they had been tricked once again. One of Rohan's favorite victims was old Mr. Pinto, who loved watering his garden every morning. Rohan would sneak out with a small mirror and reflect sunlight into Mr. Pinto's eyes, making him squint and stumble. "The sun is unusually bright today, Mr. Pinto would mutter, unaware that Rohan was crouching behind the wall, holding back his giggles. But perhaps his most daring prank was with the neighborhood cats. There were at least 5 of them that wandered around freely, and Rohan knew where all their hiding places were. One afternoon, he thought it would be a good idea to put tiny paper capes around them, making them super cats. When the cats paraded down the street, neighbors couldn't help but laugh. But when the capes were knotted and the cats scampered into people's houses, knocking over flower pots, the laughter fast turned into irritation. Naturally, Rohan did not restrict his pranks to people and animals alone. He also had a knack for tricking things. He once swapped the labels on every single mailbox in the neighborhood. For a whole morning, the mailman delivered mail to the incorrect houses, and people gathered outside trading their mail in total bewilderment. When they finally realized who was doing it, they all went to Rohan's house. His mom apologized up and down, but Rohan was in his bedroom upstairs, sticking his head out the window and grinning mischievously. The issue was, Rohan had no idea that although his tricks amused him, they were beginning to infuriate the neighbors. One evening, after he had glued Mr. Khan's newspaper to the floor of his porch, there was a neighborhood meeting. All the residents assembled in the community center to discuss what to do. Rohan was not invited, but he heard everything by holding his ear against the door. "This has to stop," Mrs. Sharma stated, folding her arms. "If he continues like this, none of us will get any peace, but he's only a child," said Mrs. Pinto sympathetically. "Perhaps he doesn't realize how much trouble he's making." Mr. Khan shook his head. "He gets it perfectly. We must teach him a lesson, but not cruelly. We must make him experience what it feels like to be on the receiving end of a prank." And so a scheme was devised. The next morning, Rohan awoke and discovered an unusual letter in his mailbox. It was in elegant handwriting and read, "Dear Rohan, you have been selected for a treasure hunt with a secret. If you complete it, the treasure is all yours. Clues are placed everywhere around the neighborhood. Good luck." Rohan's eyes twinkled with enthusiasm. Challenges were his favorite thing. He read the first clue leading him to Mrs. Sharma's porch, where he discovered another note that sent him to the park. At the park, he discovered yet another clue stuck to a tree, which instructed him to proceed to the old shed in the back of Mr. Pinto's house. But inside the shed, something surprising did occur. As soon as he entered, the door closed behind him with a click. He was trapped, not in a frightening manner, but just enough so that he knew what it felt like to be the victim of a prank. He heard the faint sound of giggles coming from outside, and when he peered out through the crack, he could see all of the neighbors staring at him. After a few minutes, they opened the door. Rohan stepped out, cheeks red but smiling sheepishly. "Okay," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I get it. That was actually kind of fun." Mrs. Sharma patted his shoulder. "It's fun when everyone's in on the joke, Rohan, but it's not so fun when the joke is only on one person." From then on, Rohan ceased not to be naughty. He couldn't be transformed overnight, but he began plotting pranks that everyone would be a part of, laughing together rather than getting angry. He arranged Ridiculous Hat Day, where he talked the whole street into wearing absurd hats. He arranged innocent scavenger hunts and goofy races. Gradually, the neighbors started to anticipate his escapades rather than fear them. And so Maple Street was a happier, more vibrant place, because Rohan no longer was naughty, but because he discovered the ultimate prank, putting smiles on people's faces.